Dr. Coburn, the Cambridge Centre for Risk Studies has launched a risk framework. Can you explain a little more, please?
Yes, sure. The risk is a growing part of our society, and we're beginning to see more and more kind of events that impact us, even events on the opposite side of the planet, such as the big Japanese tsunami in March earlier this year, which the effects were felt right across the globe. Car manufacturing plants in Germany had to slow down their production. The funding from the United States was withdrawn for the reconstruction. So nowhere on the planet today is sort of safe from remote areas of activity. So the idea of the risk framework is a new way of looking at a classification of risk threats and how they might propagate through the networks of social and economic networks that are making us more sort of globally interconnected these days.
I was going to ask, why has it taken until the 21st century to come up with a risk framework?
Well, I think that there are many different risk frameworks. So this is not the first ever risk framework, but it's a framework really for trying to understand how macro threats might impact global economic frameworks. And it's really the big crashes of like the 2008 financial crisis and these growing sort of threats of places in other parts of the world that are that have crises that are beginning to affect us. And it's really the networking, the growth of the globalization of the economy that is causing us to have to look differently at threats.
Does that mean that your stakeholders are going to be people essentially from the global economy?
Yes, I think most of the sort of big corporations these days have manufacturing plants in China and supply chains that span many different continents. Huge amount of business travel from one location to another. Many different cities are sort of linked through how people travel. The information economy has become very global. So more and more sort of networks that knit us together. And those networks are sort of fragile. They can be disrupted by events, big weather events, big financial catastrophes, or more growing importance, the geopolitical changes that are going on. Arab Spring in the Middle East, or financial austerity programs in one part of the world, now impact us in a way that didn't, even a decade ago. We're much more connected than we ever were, and the threat to those connections is really what this risk framework is trying to assess.
And the end users?
The end users are a lot of corporate risk managers. We have sponsors from the financial service sectors, banks and banking communities, and the insurance industry, and a lot of people who have a lot of concerns about policy making at a national level.
I can understand the banking sector, the financial sector, and the national corporate policy levels, but what about the pharmaceutical industry? I would imagine that they have got a large risk community too.
Yes, there are many different communities that are managing risks to their own operations, the whole risk and return of projects, reputational risk and things, the whole black swan concept of being prepared for the unexpected is a growing part of the risk management community today.
Can you ever be prepared for the unexpected? Can you be prepared for the virtual risk?
That's a very good question. I mean, ultimately, you'll never be able to guess all of the potential threats, and ultimately, it's having resilience in your operations that is the key sort of to risk management, so that you're resilient against any emerging threat.
And the Cambridge Centre for Risk Studies framework will help in all of that.
We hope to put a programme together that will be very useful in helping thinking about the problem and guide the way the new thinking will develop over the next several years.